Hey everybody, you asked in the Reddit chat for me to talk about Rojava, so I'm going to talk about Rojava. Hey folks, it's Tristan, this is Quick Step, it's Monday. I might do another one, I might do two Quick Steps this week because I got a pretty good request to talk about trade wars with the whole Trump thing, but you guys in the Reddit chat really wanted to hear about Rojava, and I know that I've been getting requests to talk about Rojava for years now, so let's talk about Rojava. So first of all, that word, Rojava, probably sounds a little new to you. It's a term for a region in northern Syria that belongs to the Kurds. It's a Kurdish name. But what people want me to talk about when I talk about Rojava is the Democratic Federation of Northern Syria. But let's talk a little bit about the region. There have been people called the Kurds who have been living in this kind of region. I've mentioned them a few times in several videos that sort of straddle the region that Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran all kind of meet in, and the Kurds have not been treated well in any of those regions. Also, because of nationalism and ethnic cleansing attempts, the Kurds and various ethnic groups around those countries have moved around that region. And so the region that's currently made up of the Democratic Federation of Northern Syria, I'm just going to call it the DFNS right now, is very multi-ethnic and very multi-religious. It's very much a mixing pot of all sorts of different peoples, many of whom have been pushed around by the big empires or by the strongmen that run the countries that they live in. Now in Syria, because of the whole Arab nationalism thing, there's been a lot of attempts on the Kurds to push them to become Arabized, which means forcing them to adopt the Arabic language or trying to just strip away their Kurdish culture and replace it with a dominant Arab one in order to build a stronger pan-Arab identity within Syria. Because when you artificially draw borders to make a country like Syria, you need to invent a shared identity in order to keep the country stable. And look how well that turned out. Anyways, when the Syrian civil war broke out, there was a lot of crazy stuff going on, but one thing that did happen is that the Syrian military more or less pulled out of Kurdistan, and left the communities that were there to their own devices, specifically up to like some local militias and things like that. In this sort of power vacuum where Damascus could no longer tell them what to do, a lot of the illegal underground Kurdish political parties decided to band together and make themselves an independent state. And they made something in 2012 called the Kurdish Supreme Committee. And they made their own military and their own state in a very quick order. Although it didn't last long, it was dissolved in order to make the country that we're talking about now, the DFNS, which is designed under a bunch of extremely interesting principles that make it unlike any other attempt at trying to get independence that has been seen in recent history. You might have seen it in incidents like the Paris Commune or the autonomous Xinmin region, but this is one of those attempts at building a non-hierarchical, bottoms-up, anarchisty type society in the middle of a war zone. But basically, due to how diverse religiously, ethnically, linguistically that region is, they made this country under the strict rules that this is going to be a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society that has a dedication to the equality of all people, men and women. They have gender equality built into their constitution. And they've had a pretty auspicious few years since they've been founded. They've adopted a few new regions. The most recent one, they joined up in December of 2015. But also they were able to push off attempts of invasion by ISIS, and successfully, which means that there was an amazing story out there of these like radical women militia fighters kicking ISIS's ass. I don't know why this isn't a story that everybody is talking about, because it's awesome, and I can't wait to see the movie that comes out of it. Except that we instead made a movie about a bunch of white dudes on horses doing something that was patently untrue. Turns out I was wrong. The latest region to join the DFNS was actually in 2016, in January of 2016, so like a month later. So they actually have several cantons. So in 2014, they passed a constitution which guarantees gender equality and religious freedom. And a lot of the government in the DFNS is based on the work of a guy named Abdullah Öcalan, who is currently in prison in Turkey, and he's a Kurdish nationalist leader who had an idea of organizing societies not so much based on top-down state institutions, but on a sort of collective security, bottoms-up community direct democracy type thing, where local city governments, local city councils made up of direct democracies that invite different ethnic groups and different religious groups to work together are then bound by a mutual defensive pact so that they can all keep themselves safe. A lot of people in the comments of my old thing about the Spanish Civil War video said that anarchists have a hard time with handling state aggression, which is true. That's like the one thing that all of the success stories of anarchism throughout history always seem to end with, which is the overpowering force of the state. Mutual defense pact might be a way to take care of that. This type of government is apparently called democracy without the state. But yeah, apparently Assyrians, Kurds, Arabs, Turkmens are all these ethnic groups that have been in various levels of struggle and conflict in this region for a long time are working together. All the different religions, all the major flavors of Islam, Christians, even some Yazidis are coming together in this federation. So it's being like preposterously inclusive. And it seems to have embraced diversity and embraced tolerance and freedom of expression and gender equality as part of the core of its identity, which I think is pretty great. I think that a lot of people, rationals out there, despite their love of STEM and science, don't seem to notice that, in a biological sense, but also in a political sense, in our sense, is that diversity of opinion is good, diversity of people is good, diversity of ideas is good. And when we are in a moment where a lot of the world is saying that diversity of people is bad, that diversity of ideas is bad, and that we need to go back to saltine cracker white people countries because things were so great back then, that this is like somehow a thing that can actually happen. But it's kind of inspiring to see that in a region where the worst atrocities are happening under the Syrian civil war, that there's some hope. There's a country that's trying to do the right thing. Unfortunately, I worry because the Syrian civil war does probably have an end in sight at some point, and from all intents and purposes, Bashar al-Assad's going to win. And I don't know what that says for this really cool attempt at making a new society, one that's truly democratic and not one that's based on rule by a centralized state authority. We shall see. I hope it goes all right. And by the way, they've set up schools and all sorts of crazy things too. It's like a real functioning state at this point. Hey, I also want to thank Red Baron 918 for suggesting the subject for this quick step. Good on ya. If you want to have a voice in what the next quick step is going to be about, you can go down into the comments or go to reddit.com/r/stepback, and the voting thread should probably be one of the announcements, and you can either propose your own idea or upvote the ones that you like. Do both. I know that this was kind of brief. I think that the Kurdish people are probably deserving of something that's a bit longer than a quick step, probably like an actual step back video, but I thought that talking about the whole Rojava thing and how cool it is and the interesting stuff going on there was worthy of a quick step, because there's a lot of people who don't seem to know about it, and I think it's really cool. Lastly, if you want to help out Step Back by not paying me directly any money, but you want to, throw a few bucks my way, and you plan on buying books on Amazon, I have a link down there to my page, my influencer page. If you go there and check out some books that you're interested in, I put the books that I use for researching Step Back videos in there. You can buy a book from there, and I'll get a little bit of kickback. But even if you just go to the link and then through clicking on it, you go to another page and buy something, I get some from that too. So if you plan on buying a book, or if you want to read more about a subject of a Step Back video, it's a good place to go. And through no extra charge to you, I get a little bit of a kickback. All right, everybody. Have a good one. See you next time for more Step Back. Peace sign. Pacifist. Everyone hates that.